What was the most wildly dishonest thing the media did this weekend? I mean, this is a competition on any given weekend, especially with the Sunday shows, with the so-called political journalists. They're hacks, they're liars, but the political journalists that run these shows. And this was a great one. This is a great one because they even had to admit, kind of like meekly and off the side, well, maybe we shouldn't have done this. They had to admit that this was a grotesque misrepresentation. And so with that, we have Chuck Todd here referring to what the Attorney General, remember, they're all very upset about the Flynn situation. They're blaming the attorney. They hate Pompeo and they hate Barr, right? They hate these two guys because they're smart, they're good at what they do, and they're both a big problem for attacking the Trump administration, right? This isn't like the old days where you had Tillerson and Sessions. And I know some of you are always like, Buck, I don't know, Sessions liked this radio show and he's such a nice guy and he's a gentleman and I feel bad for him. He's just, Sessions was not disloyal. He was just too much of a Boy Scout. He didn't understand what he was up against. I do not think he's a disloyal guy at all. I think he was always a big proponent of the Trump agenda, even before a lot of other people were when he was a senator. But he got rolled. He got pushed aside, and he shouldn't have. I was in the Oval Office with the president when the president said, and this broke news at the time, I don't have an attorney general. He did have an attorney general. It was Jeff Sessions, but he said, I don't have one. So now he's got one with Bill Barr, who's kind of like, come on, what do you guys think you're doing? Come on, you think you're going to pull some over on me? Kid, I've been around the block. Like, that's Bill Barr. Like, it's just not happening. And then there's Pompeo, who I always feel like is like, do you want to have an arm wrestling contest? Do you want to see who the big dog in the room is? You know, I'm always like, no, sir. No, sir. So both great members of the cabinet. And here is how Chuck Todd represented a response that Bill Barr has on the Flynn, the dropping of charges against Flynn. Play clip one.
You brought up Bill Barr. Peggy Noonan, I want you to listen to this Bill Barr answer to a question about what will history say about this. Wait till you hear this answer. Take a listen.
When history looks back on this decision, how do you think it will be written?
Well, history's written by the winner, so it largely depends on who's writing the history.
I was struck, Peggy, by the cynicism of the answer. It's a correct answer, but he's the Attorney General. He didn't make the case that he was upholding the rule of law. He was almost admitting that, yeah, this is a political job.
I mean, I had to let you hear the whole thing, too, because understand this. They cut it in a way where it's clear, because the next sentence makes everything that Chuck Todd said untrue, and they must know this. But they're so used to getting away with this crap. They're so used to the dishonesty and not being called out on it that sometimes they just get sloppy. And, you know, in the Tim Russert area or in the Dan Rather or Cronkite or these guys, no one's going to check them. No one's going to check them on this crap. They get away with whatever they want. No one else has access to the raw tapes. No one else has access to the transcripts, right? I mean, not really. Now, oh no, we can see what was said in the interview. And remember, this is what was actually said. Play clip 2.
When history looks back on this decision, how do you think it will be written?
Well, history's written by the winner, so it largely depends on who's writing the history. But I think a fair history would say it was a good decision because it upheld the rule of law. It upheld the standards of the Department of Justice, and it undid what was an injustice.
Does that sound like what was represented to you by that Sunday show by Chuck Todd there? He says, look, it was kind of a throwaway comment, like a preamble. I mean, look, history's written by the winners, but if you want to know what I think about this, I think that it was the right move because it was the right move, because it was just. They took what was effectively a throwaway comment. You know, it would be like if someone asked me, what do you think about what's gone on here, with the Flynn case? And I said, look, I mean, it is what it is, but I think that we really need people to go get prosecuted who did this, whatever. And they just cut that out and they're like, oh, Sexton says we're done. It is what it is. It is what it is. That's all he said. It is what it is. Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.